Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I made these vintage style window birthday cards using the lovely When You Smile paper collection by Craft a Clock. And this tutorial was made as a part of the creative team for Craft a Clock. Look at these gorgeous cards. There's a spot in each card where you can fit a gift card inside just perfectly, and it stays out of the way of the rest of the card. And there's a little window that just gives a little bit of interest. Look at that one. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. Each of these cards has a lot of variety. Let me show you the little envelope that has the gift card holder in it. Look at that. So perfect. This is just great. They're really easy to make. Each uses the lovely When You Smile paper collection. It is fairly new in the shop. I'm going to use the 12 by 12 set. Let me just show you a little walk through here of the collection just so you can see what's in the rest of the paper, because I really only use, I think, 2 pieces out of this set. Look at the girls. Aren't they beautiful? Just look at the colors. Oh my goodness. I did make an exploding box already with this collection, and it is available to see on my channel. And I will link up above in the corner there where you can click on that link and check out the exploding box as well. These are some of the chipboard die cuts that coordinate with the set. They're not adhesive, but they pop out real easy of the package. You just use your own adhesive to get them on to whatever you want. This is the 6x6 collection. We use a lot of that with these 2 cards. And let me just show you quick. Look at the tags. You get tags on the back of the packaging, and so you get 3 of each design here for a total of 18 sheets of double-sided paper. I just absolutely love this paper. I think I said in my other video, you're really going to have to force yourself to cut into it. But I really like that they give you so many, like 3 of each sheet or 2 of each sheet. With the 12 by 12, you're just going to have to buy 2 packs because then you can have one to sort of, look at that. Look at those frames. Yeah, with the 12 by 12, you'll just have to buy an extra one that's just for you to look at and the other one for you to cut into. These are the Junk Journal Extras set. It's a coordinating set of cut aparts. And this is some of them are double-sided and some of them are single-sided within the pack, which makes logical sense because like the envelopes and things, you're going to want a double-sided, or the tabs. You're going to just need a single-sided. So look at the frames. I mean, I just love the extras and the embellishments. That right there is the envelope. That brown one is the one that I'm going to use for the gift card holder in today's project. And look at that big one for a scrapbook page. Just gorgeous, gorgeous. And these are more like, they almost look like recipe cards or like library pocket cards. So you get a lot of bang for your buck with these collections. Now, these are the decorative cards. This is also a coordinating sheet. And it's just a sheet of cut aparts, 2-sided, which is nice, especially if you're making mini albums and you want a card to like go in a pocket. So we're going to use 2 out of that sheet. These are the flowers to cut. I'm sorry. Leaves. Those are the leaves. Leaves 12, and then these are the flowers to cut. Yeah. And this is flowers 24. All coordinating with the collection. Look at these extras to cut. I mean, I almost can't stand it. They're gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Another coordinating sheet. So we use a lot of variety from that collection. Now I'm also going to use, when I started to film, I wasn't sure which color I wanted of these special occasions quotes. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. They all say the same quotes and sentiments. One side is in English and the other side is in Polish. And then I'm also going to use an acetate sheet. You can use whatever you have on hand for that. All the links to these products will be in the description box below. I'm going to start with a sheet of the 12 by 12 paper, and I'm just going to cut it in half at 6 inches. And I'm going to make 2 6 by 6 size cards today. Now, I have done this same technique with card bases in the past, just using one sheet. But I think what I do today is I use a second sheet out of the 12 by 12, cut it in half, and make 2 card bases with 2 totally different pieces of the paper. I'm scoring at 6 inches right down the middle, just to make a nice crispy fold, and that looks beautiful. You know, if you're not much of a card maker, maybe you're more of a scrapbooker, a 6 by 6 size card is a good place to start, because especially scrapbookers are generally used to working in squares, you know, with a square sort of a surface, you know, the 12 by 12 surface or the 8 by 8 surface or whatever. So if you're going to do a card and you're fairly new to it, maybe give the 6 by 6 size a try. Probably the hardest part for me was deciding which side of the paper I wanted to be the outside. It's just so pretty. So once you make those heart-wrenching decisions about cutting into your paper and folding it and scoring it, then you've got your 2 nice card bases. And of course, if you don't have a scoreboard, no big deal. You could just fold your card in half, just without scoring it. I just like the way the score mark makes a nice crispy, you know, nice clean fold line. Okay, so there's our 2 card bases. Very nice. Next, what I'm going to do is take 2 of the decorative cards, and these are the cards that I want to be on the inside of the card. But I place them on the outside of the card and just trace lightly around it. I used a pencil at first, and I realized I really couldn't see the pencil line very well, and I was going to need to see it a little bit better than that. So I had a white pen and my T ruler, which I've been using a lot this year. And I just went over my pencil lines with my white pen. It doesn't really matter. I'm not even going to link to a white pen down below, because it really doesn't make a difference if you use a white pen or not use a white pen. Maybe the paper you're choosing, you could see your pencil mark just fine. So, and it also doesn't matter if your pen works well or not. You just need enough to be able to see, so you can. We're going to cut this out of this rectangle. We're going to cut it out of the front. Now I'm going to use my paper trimmer to cut out of the front. So only because my blade, I can like press and lift it up just so wherever I want, so I can get a nice straight line. And what I'm actually trying to do is cut it just a little bit on, did I say the inside of the line? I think I did. I think I was trying to make it so I didn't have that white trace line showing. Just cleaning some of that up with my scissors so it comes out nice. I mean, for the most part, it's gonna pop out just real simple there. That's really nice because I can use that later. Now I've got this hole, which is the perfect size for my decorative card, and now I can glue my decorative card on the inside. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have, before I glued the decorative card down, I should have used it to trace over top of my 6x6 sheet of paper, which I'm going to use later. It doesn't really make a difference. Just in hindsight, I think to myself, I wonder why I did it that way, but it's fine because I ended up using the rectangle anyway. So I'm using some double-sided, some score tape, which is really nice. It's a double-sided tape. It comes in a big roll. It can tear easily with your fingers. I place the card down real nice, erase my pencil marks, and there's basically, I mean, my window card that's the hardest part of the window card right there. Now I get my acetate sheet, and I've just got a black Sharpie or some other kind of marker that isn't going to just rub off of plastic. Just make a few little just guide marks there. Most acetate or clear plastic, even if you're using like a takeout container or a deli container to use for your plastic, it should just cut right with your paper trimmer. And I'm just making it just a little bit bigger than my hole, enough so that I can use double-sided tape to secure it down and not have the double-sided tape sticking out of the sides. That is just, you don't have to do it that way. You could use a liquid glue if you wanted. I just like to use the double-sided tape because it's a little bit more convenient and I don't have to hold it down and wait for it to dry. But if you choose to do it this way, you're going to have to cut your acetate just a little bit bigger, like a 1/4 inch, however big your tape is, basically bigger than the window. And I just eyeball it and just set it right down on top of the window. I had to lift it up because I didn't want my head in the video. And no big deal if it isn't perfect. We're going to be covering that up anyway, all our little imperfections. So just get it as centered as possible. And that looks good. Now we're going to repeat the same thing with the other card. No need for me to show you that. There's the second card. Now on this one though, before I glue my decorative card down to the card base, I am going to use this little brown gift card envelope from the junk journal set, and I'm scoring on the line here to make my fold nice and crispy. It really is the perfect size for like a gift card. So super nice. So I'm going to fold in the flaps there, and I think I just use a liquid glue to secure that down. But I wanted the decorative card to kind of overlap a little bit on that envelope, so that's why I was waiting to adhere it down. Yeah, in this case, I prefer using a liquid adhesive. Only because the area of gluing is so small, and this glue holds really well. This is the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. It's by Tonic, and I just use a little acrylic block to rest on top of that, so I don't have to wait. And now I can work on something else in the meantime. So I think in the meantime, I'm going to make my pencil marks. And yep, in almost no time at all, I'm ready to go. And what I decided to do actually is adhere the decorative card to the envelope first. And then glue them down to the card base as one just single unit. I suppose that I made it difficult for myself. But I remember why I was trying to do that, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be uneven, with the envelope behind it. I thought, am I going to need like a little piece of cardboard or something, or a little piece of foam tape or something like that? I wasn't sure. See right there? I didn't know if it was going to be uneven. And I'm actually glad I did it that way, because I think what I do is just find some scrap cardboard or something. Yeah, just a little, it's like just some scrap cardboard that I had, like the weight of a cereal box or a cracker box, you know. Just something that has a little bit of stability, a little bit thicker than the double-sided tape, and that will make everything even. So then when I glue it all down, it doesn't look like it's on a ledge. This paper collection I have in my shop, in the Sandpaper Road shop. So I will be, there's links below where you can click the description box and check that out. And I'll also have a link at the end where you can just click on the shop. And you can pick these up. The papers come from Poland. If you're new to the channel, I'm part of the Craft O'Clock creative team, but I also, because the papers are from overseas, shipping is insane. So I thought, well, I'll just order from them and then save you guys on the shipping. I'll take care of the shipping. Plus, if you order $35 or more from my shop, you get free shipping. So that's really a bargain. So now I feel really good about the way that looks. I am very, very, very pleased with that. I'm going to do the same thing on the second card, but the other card, I'm going to use this little, it's more like a pocket than a little envelope, but same process. I'm going to score the little lines. There's even little dotted lines like pre-printed on there, so you know where to fold the tabs in. It's super nice. And again, I'm going to use a little, well, I'm going to really press this down, because do you see how tiny that fold is? It's so small. So since I already glued that card down, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. The card that little pocket that I chose is almost the same design. It just kind of blends itself in. As a matter of fact, I think if you weren't, what is going on with my glue? Oh, I just needed to stick like a pin in it or something. I was having some problems with my glue. But yeah, as a matter of fact, I think if you didn't know a gift card holder was there, you might not notice it right away at all. Yeah, I'm trying to be really careful here because it's so tiny. And here's the part that you have to watch for. To make sure that you put the envelope or the pocket in such a way, especially if you're doing it sideways like that, so that the gift card doesn't hang out of the edge of the side of the card itself. It wouldn't matter if it did. It just, what's going to happen is your card isn't going to fit in the envelope that you had planned to put it in. So you'll have to make your envelope bigger if it hangs out of the side. All right, good. So we've got both of our cards at about the same spot here. We've got the acetate window. Now we're going to work on decorating the front. So I have a 6x6 sheet of paper to decorate the front. Now I have a removable glue dot, and I really recommend that to have some kind of a removable or a repositionable type product, something like that. Even a sticky note I'm sure would work just fine. Something where you can stick it down. This is the rectangle that we cut out of it. Now I slid it underneath. There's my removable glue dot. What I'm basically trying to do is put that rectangle on the 6x6 paper exactly where the window would be, and then I can trim. What should happen then is I should be able to trim around the outside edges of that 6x6 without any problem. but I'm going to need the hole to line up. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I had to cut a hole out of the 6x6 paper, but I can't just put a hole anywhere because I'm going to have to trim around the edges. And otherwise it'll be uneven, and I'll be trimming and trimming and trimming for days trying to make it even. So I don't know. This might seem like the long way around to do it, but it was the best way I could figure out to do it. So just a temporary or a repositionable glue dot is holding down the rectangles that we cut out of the windows. So now the glue dot was there only because I had to lay it behind the window as a sort of like a template. Once I trace around that, now I know that it's exactly where it is on the card. This was what I was saying, is I almost wished, if I was a smarter person, what I should have done maybe is not put the acetate in right away, because then I could just trace through the hole. That's what I should have done. And then you don't need the glue dot at all, you know. Yeah, I think that probably would be the better method, now that I'm thinking about it, is just wait to do the acetate window, because then you could just put the 6x6 paper, like this one here that I'm cutting into, you could just put it behind the card and trace right through the window. That I totally should have done it that way, but oh well. Now here, I'm actually not cutting a perfect rectangle. I'm only because I want to leave some of those flowers, and some of that girl, I want to leave her, like I want to leave some of it in the paper. So I just used a craft knife instead of my cutter, and now what I'm going to do is cut around the girl with my tiny scissors. I am here to say that, and this is not a product plug, this is true, Erin's true thoughts. These little detail scissors are really good. I've used other kinds of little scissors, but these have they have like a little serrated edge, and it really helps hold the paper. It doesn't slide around while you're trying to cut detailed images. It's just perfect, and they're so small. Sometimes, you don't need them all the time. I personally need mine all the time, but you might not do this kind of detail stuff all the time, but they are so nice to have on hand, because when you need them to do certain things. And so I'm really happy with these little tiny scissors. So see how I cut around the girl? This is a little bit tedious. But did you see how the cards looked at the end? Weren't they so pretty? I don't know. Sometimes I think it's worth it. I mean, if I was pumping out like maybe 5 or 10 of these cards, there's no way I would do all this. I'd be like, oh no, I'll just cut rectangles. But these are actually 2 very special cards, birthday cards that I made. And I thought, well, I'm going to do special things here for these. Okay, so lots of detail cutting. I'm going to erase my pencil lines here. It looks really good so far. Okay, definitely I'm working on the window cutout before I'm sizing it up with the edge. Okay, see how the window matches? And now I can just trim the side edges. I should just be able to trim along 2 sides to make it match. What I was deciding was whether or not I wanted to ink inside the window frame first, because once you glue that down, you can't decide later that you want to ink on the inside. So I thought I'd add a little bit. Actually, I think what I remembered, I think I messed up, if I remember correctly, on this part. I think I did a big like glob of ink too much or something. I should have had those small, Ranger makes these small things, or I should have used a Q-tip or something. Yeah, I think this is where it is, where that looked really good for a minute, and then I think I got carried away with the ink. Yep, sure did. Right there. Ah, look at that. That's okay. I just decided, well, I can't do anything about that big glob, so I'll just make it look like I meant to put more ink on it. And then it's much easier to add than to take away, so I just thought, okay, well, I'll just add more ink. Nobody will ever know. I did use some scrap paper to cover up the flowers as I was doing that. There, you can hardly tell. So I also know in my head that I'm going to be covering up some of that outside edge with some strips. We're going to make a little frame. All right, so this is a 1/2 inch cut here, and I think I'm going to find this a little bit easier to do with this paper trimmer. I'm going to trim 1/2 inch off this side. We're going to start with the 1/2 inch cut, okay? We can always adjust as needed, but whoa, almost had a huge crooked cut there. Okay, yeah, we'll just start with that, and let's take a look and see what we need to do. That is a good start, but do you see what's happening? We still have to line that up with our window. So I'm going to have to trim just a little bit off, and some of this is eyeballing, but if the window is in place, then we're good. Yeah, I'm just going to have to cut another 1/2 inch right there off that side. That was a little bit more off of the girl that I wanted to cut off, but it's okay. After every time I cut, I hold it up to the front and see if everything's going to be okay. Oh, I was so reluctant about cutting off that bottom, but oh well. There, that looks good. Now see how it's a little bit uneven, how there's more off the edge of that right side there? That's actually okay. I wasn't trying to do that. It was kind of an accident, but I thought to myself, you know what? I've got some of those extras to cut, and I thought I'll just embellish some or some flowers or things off to the side, and it'll give me just a little bit more room to embellish, and it's no big deal. So I was not going to spend the majority of my time trying to make that even Steven just so perfect. The part that needed to be perfect was the window and making sure that the decorative card showed through the window and that the gift card fit in the card. Those are the things that you've got to be real precise about. These things, as long as you've got other things to cover up mistakes with, you're fine. I think what I'm doing here is cleaning up. I had a crooked cut with my paper trimmer for some reason. I must not have been holding it very securely down. Okay, now I'm going to use some of this liquid adhesive, but here's the thing. Don't just go crazy and put it all over the back, because you see those parts, you see where I didn't put the glue? It's going to show through the window. See how it's against that acetate? That means when I open up the card, you're going to see that. So I didn't want a big glue glob right there. See there? See how it shows through? And I just make it look nice. It's not going to come off. There's so much glue there, it's not going to come off. It looks great. But I definitely didn't want glue on that part showing through the window. I love that. I love that. It looks good. So I'm going to do the same thing with the front piece on the other side. The only difference is instead of cutting on the inside of the piece, let me show you. I'm going to do just a little bit different. It won't take long. It won't take as long as the first one, but I'm going to trim my rectangle piece that I had traced. And I'm not going to do any fancy cutting, like I said, on the inside of the rectangle, like I did with the craft knife and all that with the other. Instead, I am going to do my fancy cutting on the outside. Okay, so I'll pop this out. And if you're not real comfortable with, detail cutting, I recommend just doing this technique instead. I'm just cleaning up the corners there. Honestly, I could probably just trim the outside right there half an inch and be good. A little bit along each edge, stick it on top, and then decorate and be fine. I think I'm going to be a little bit smarter with my ink this time. Of course, it is a little easier to ink along a rectangle than along a detailed cut, paper, but still. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Okay, now instead of just trimming along the side, I am going to do the same kind of detail cutting as I did before, but I'm doing it on the outside of the paper this time instead of on the inside of the little frame. And this is what it looks like when it's done. I told you it wouldn't take as long. So I cut around the outside instead of around the inside. See? Both ways I think look beautiful and make the cards very interesting. This I just think is absolutely stunning. I love that design on top of that navy. It's so beautiful. Now this I can put glue all over the back because I don't have anything hanging into the window. Okay. And very carefully I lay that right down. Looks good. Easiest way to smooth that down is to turn it over, lay it flat and smooth against the back of the card, I think. And you can smooth it a lot easier. That is just, I just love that. I think it's just stunning. All right, now here's what we're doing. We're going to make a little frame using just little strips of, little strips, little strips of paper. I don't even have a measurement to tell you. I mean, I could say 1/4 of an inch, but some of it you just kind of have to look and see. So what I wanted was on the navy blue card base, I wanted a brown strips around the window, and then the opposite on the other card. Small strips of paper. Okay, and that's how we're going to do it. We're just going to glue the strips. I literally just eyeball them. You could use the strips that you cut off the bottom part of the 12 by 12 sheets if you wanted. Or on some of the bottoms of the extra sheets. I actually found those to be just a bit too big. They were about 1/4 of an inch, and I think I just needed a little bit smaller than that. So that's why I don't have a measurement, because it's kind of just what you like. I'm not even really concerned at all about them overlapping or anything. I'm not concerned about straight edge cuts or whatever, because I'm going to put corners on top of each of these corners. You'll see how I do that in just a minute. But I did find that taking the time to do this one little extra step really gave the card a polished look. It just made the biggest difference than to just leave it plain the way it was. And I am just enough to, I'm not gluing on to the acetate window. because if you do, you're going to see through it. So it's just on the very edge of where the window is. Like I said, just giving it just a polished edge. It just looks really good. That is outstanding. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the corner thing. Okay, this is just one of the rectangles that I cut out. Remember, I've got a couple of them because we cut out of a few different pieces. And I have a little square punch, just a small square punch. I've had it for probably decades. Okay, take a little square punch and just cut it diagonally. You've got two little triangles, and you can put one on each side, and that is the end of that. And it really, really, really makes it look nice. Now, you can add a little extra special vintage touch when you do them, if you want to. Totally up to you. Put two of them together once you cut them apart, and just cut a tiny, teeny, tiny little baby triangle against the flat edge. Let me show you up close here in a second what that looks like. Okay, so you put two of them together, you just cut a teeny, teeny, tiny little triangle right against the flat edge, and what you've done is you've created just a little notch. You see that? It makes it look like a one of those old-time photo corners. Little liquid glue. Again, not on the window. You're not trying to glue it onto the window. You're just trying to glue it onto the cardstock frame that you made. Yeah, this is just a really nice, that little notch. I just love making that little teeny tiny little teeny tiny little notch cut out of that flat edge. Just really makes a huge difference. Yeah, it looks really good. We're going to do the same thing on the inside with strips and corners. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put a navy strip in there, I think, with the same kind of thing around it, same little corners around it. And on the other card as well. So now, through the magic of video, we've got that finished. It looks really good. It just really, really gives it a nice, good look. Now I'm trying to decide which sentiment I want and which color would look best. It was a little bit of a struggle for me to decide because they were all so good. These sentiments, it's just real nice for, cards and, or scrapbook pages or your projects. Just nice, just general sentiments. And like I said, the one side has English and the other side has Polish. So if you do order these from the shop, just be mindful when you get them. If you don't know at first what you're looking at, you probably are looking at the Polish side. Here's one of the extras to cut, one of these vintage ladies. And I've got all my embellishments here. This is probably some of my favorite part of doing a project, is when I get to just play and embellish once the main part of the project is complete. See how you don't even notice that I put that lady right there in the foreground, and now you don't even really notice at all that one side of the card was just a little bit bigger than the other. Remember, there was a lot more brown border than the other. Here's some flowers that I had cut, fussy cut from the flowers sheet. So I have them and they're flat, but I take just a piece of foam. That's the white square piece of foam that you see there. And I have a metal stylus, and I just push gently into the flower just to make it kind of curl up just a bit. Put the happy birthday sentiment inside with a little bit of double-sided tape. Got some flowers on the outside. Look at that. Isn't this so pretty? I love it. It's so nice. The gift card goes right there. I am so happy with that. Very, very, very nice. Now, I mentioned about the metal stylus. Certainly, you don't have to have that tool. I've used the back of a pen before, with like a pen with the cap on, or the back of a pencil eraser. Just something that you can push into the flower. And the foam really does help it if you can get a piece of foam, or if you don't have a piece of foam handy, you could probably lay it on like your couch cushion and do it that way. I have these little trays that I've had for a long time. They actually came from a nonprofit that I used to work for. And they would get medical supplies and then they would recycle the trays. So one day they said, "Do you want some of these?" And I said, "Sure." And they definitely come in handy for sorting all my fussy cut elements. These cardboard die cuts kept falling out as I was trying to get them out of the package, but that's okay. So pretty. I put a happy birthday message on the inside of one card and on the outside of the other. And I'm just going to put a little notch in the edge of the sentiment. I'm going to use one of those chipboard die cuts, actually, not just as a decoration, but as a functional piece too, in place of like foam tape. I'm going to just put my sentiment right on top of there and then use that to mount it up a little bit. Here I'm going to make the wings of the bird, just slightly push the wings of the bird into the foam. I like using my glue gun for some parts of the projects. It just adds just a teeny bit of dimension, and also it makes it adhere really quickly. But as you can see, the chipboard die cuts don't take anything more than just liquid adhesive. And yeah, these cards were, I'm not going to say they're super easy to make, because it did take a little bit of effort, but they weren't. I've definitely made more complicated cards. And here is a final look at these beautiful cards. And thank you so much for watching. You can check out the description box for links to where you can pick up these products in the USA. You can head over to the blog. Thanks so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.